Okay, so we have the Headless Horseman.
No. Drum roll.
Whoa. So is this George Washington's too?
It is. It's a three-piece suit that he acquired sometime in the mid-18th century. It's amazing that it held up so well.
He's a pretty fit guy.
No, he was 6'2". He was a tall man, but he wasn't a really large man.
So our mannequin's a little short.
I purchased this George Washington suit over 21 years ago, and it was one of my first major purchases for my collection of Americana. It's a major highlight of my collection. But if Rick really wants me to put a price on it, I'm gonna put a price on it for him today.
I'm just like in awe.
It is amazing.
If I could go back and have a cup of coffee with just about anybody in history, it'd probably be this guy. He could have been elected president until the day he died, but he stepped down after 2 terms, and he set the standard for presidents to come. To me, he's one of the most amazing men in history. He really is.
Oh, yeah.
So where'd you get it?
It was passed down from family member to family member, and it ended up in an auction in New York City. I was able to purchase it there. A highlight of my collection until I purchased the Washington sword. So it dropped down to number 2.
Do we know the date on this thing?
I think it's from the 1750s or 60s.
Okay.
Back then, it was pink, and you could still see some of the pink in this area.
You know, Washington was always very aware of how he presented himself. Pink would have been a bright color and one that really would have set you off as, you know, fashion-conscious individual.
And it's all silk?
Or silk.
I'm impressed. So you think this is all legit and everything, right?
Yes, I think it is. On a piece like this, what it's dependent on is provenance. There are missing pieces, that sort of thing. But that's minimal.
For being over 200 years old.
Exactly. You just don't see a piece of Americana like this very often. This is just amazing.
Absolutely.
So you enticed me with a sword that's not for sale, and this thing right here, does it have a price on it?
Well, it's one of my highlights of my collection. But everything has a price.
Well, I'll let you guys work that out. Very good to see you, Rick. Good to see you. We'll see you back in Vegas.
Take care.
So how much?
I wouldn't sell for less than $3 million.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of suit.
I don't think I'd ever say this, but I'm actually considering this. I mean, it's George Washington's suit. I mean, it never occurred to me that one would be available. I'm gonna go think and contemplate about this for a little bit. Can we meet up later?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm intrigued. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
That's cool. So I'm back at the hotel, I'm seeing Brian. I'm ready to sit down and have a serious conversation with him. I'm back.
You're back. Good to see you.
He wants $3 million for George Washington's suit. I've been offered items in the millions of dollars before, but I've never really considered them until now. The suit.
Okay.
You asked for $3 million,
Right.
but what's the best you can do? 1.5?
No, I appreciate your offer, but it's really a major part of my collection.
How about $2 million?
Since we're friends, the best price, absolute best price would be $2.5 million.
Okay, and you're firm at that?
Absolutely firm with that.
I mean, okay, well, I guess the suit's out then. I didn't get the suit, but you know what? It didn't fit me anyway. What can I help you with?
Well, I've got a World War II book that was authored and also autographed by Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Wow, really? He was in charge of the biggest military operation in the history of the world ever, which is pretty amazing to me. I'm assuming it's not a comedy?
So far, I've gotten through part of it, no comedy. I came to the pawn shop today to try and sell my Dwight D. Eisenhower book, autographed by Eisenhower. I purchased the book at an estate sale. I would like to sell the book because I've got my eye on a Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford autograph.
Crusade in Europe. I like the title. Did you know much about it?
It follows him through his campaign in Europe from start to finish, and
Okay.
it's his exploits of what happened during the war. Here's a note from President Roosevelt appointing Ike to command of Operation Overlord, storming the beaches at Normandy.
Okay. Eisenhower, I think, is my dad's favorite president because, as far as my dad is concerned, basically, if you were a lifer in the military, you're all right. And if you didn't spend your entire life in the military, you're not. During World War II, Eisenhower was basically in charge of all the fighting in Europe. He was the guy in charge of planning the Normandy invasion. Hearing about D-Day from him would be completely different than reading it from a textbook. So it's signed by him?
Yes,
To, I guess that's Pamela Byrd. Best wishes, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
it really becomes Eisenhower's rookie card because at the time he signed this, he wasn't president yet. He was president of Columbia University, so it's before he became president of the United States.
Yeah. All right, so how much were you looking to get out of it?
I'm looking for 1,000.
Maybe. Let me call up a friend. She's an expert in rare books. She'll probably know the signature, and if this is a first edition and all that fun stuff. So let me get her down here. If everything's legit, we'll talk money.
All right, thanks. I feel fairly confident about it. Certainly hope that there is a big payday at the end of this, that we can come to an agreement and I can sell the book.
Rebecca, how's it going?
Good. I hear you have an Eisenhower for me. The guys usually call me down here because they don't know a lot about books. Crusade in Europe, this is all about World War II, specifically the European front. Eisenhower was involved in this from pretty much the beginning. He was the person who contained the divas, and that includes people like Patton, who didn't want to listen to anyone, or General Montgomery, who was the same way on the British side. It's pretty common in a historical event like this, one of the major generals or participants will write a memoir about it, but they're not common signed. I have the same book in the signed limited edition.
Okay.
What we're gonna do is look at the two signatures. One thing that we have to worry about is that Eisenhower actually had an auto pen. So there is the possibility in this time period that he could actually have the auto pen signed for him.
I see.
The nice thing about this, though, is you have this full inscription here. And since you've got a uniformity of ink with the inscription and the signature, we know it's not auto pen.
Great.
But the other thing that you might worry about with Eisenhower is actually that it could be secretarial. So, from what I can tell here and here, it's real.
Sweet.
Oh, that's great. Awesome.
Okay, so is this like a first edition? This is a second edition?
It is a first edition. It's
How do you
a-
tell? How do you tell?
You know, it depends on the book. With this book, it's pretty simple. You're just looking at the copyright date here, and you don't have any extra mention of printings.
Okay.
Awesome. So this is first.
It is a first edition, and it is signed. These are all good things.
So what's it worth?
Well, one thing I can tell you, just looking at it, it does not have the dust jacket.
It does not.
This was originally issued with a dust jacket, so it's not considered complete.
All right.
If it had the dust jacket, $3,000.
Okay.
Without the jacket, this book is worth $1,500.
Half price because of that.
That's right. A book as a collectible needs to be complete as it was originally issued. That means if it had a dust jacket, it needs to retain the dust jacket. If it was an original binding, it should stay in that binding. You're losing a huge part of its value.
How much you want for it now?
Well, she said 1,500. I'm thinking around 1,000. That gives you a little room.
I'm thinking more like 800 bucks.
How about the difference? 900. Does have Eisenhower's signature. We know that.
I know. We're still talking about a lot of money for a book.
But it's an Eisenhower book.
$850.
No, I've got to stay with 9. It's really unique.
You know what? I'll go the 9. I'll go the 9.
All right, we got a deal.
All right.
Thanks.
I'll meet you right up front. This was a total no-brainer. A book written and signed by a 5-star general who later became president. I just hit the jackpot.
I have an original Lincoln parlor card. That is the basis of the Lincoln penny.
That's pretty amazing, the ones that he signed. I've only heard stories of these existing. This is the Brady's one.
Matthew Brady. He did the image for the $5 bill and the cent, and this is the basis of the Lincoln penny. I'm at the pawn shop today to sell my Lincoln parlor card. So I'm a collector of Lincoln memorabilia, and I saw this card at an estate sale about 15 years ago, and I don't think they knew what they were selling. If I sell the card, I'm going to reinvest in my Lincoln collection.
Parlor cards were sort of a new thing. They sort of came out in the 1860s. Back then, it was a really cool thing to have a photograph in your house because photographs were expensive, really new high-tech things. Eventually, it became really popular to get, like, you know, the president, maybe a famous writer or something like that. You get their parlor cards, and you would literally put them in your parlor in a glass case, and it showed you were sophisticated. It was a big deal. This guy Brady made some parlor cards, actually had Lincoln sign them. And so this is actually the image that is on the cent in your pocket. The Lincoln cent came out in 1909, and right around that time period, Lincoln had elevated to the status of greatest American the world has ever seen. That's when they started designing a memorial for him. Also around that time period, Teddy Roosevelt, he really hated the way our coins looked. Our cent was the Indian cent. He just told the Department of Bureau of Engraving, let's get something a little better. And that's when all of our coinage changed. And there for a while, we had Lincoln and then a bunch of beautiful women on our coins. Like I said, I'm still in shock that you brought this in here. I didn't know one existed in private hands. How much you want for it?
I know you've got to make some money on it. This is the only one left, so I think a fair price is $100,000.
That's a lot of sense. I know they're uber rare. Let me get someone in here who'll have a better idea what its value.
Right.
Okay? I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm just in shock.
Wow, that's really an astounding piece. Photography was not an easy process. It's not like today where you can just run off photographs and any senator or president can sign them easily. Mid-19th century photographs are generally pretty uncommon. I'm not sure I know of any of his predecessor, James Buchanan. There were a couple engravings of John Quincy Adams that he signed. They're pretty rare. They're only a handful in existence. I mean, really, if you're collecting presidential signed photographs, this is the top of the pyramid.
I've never actually seen one before.
They are out there. They are rare, though, and they're often heavily forged, shall we say. So this Lincoln parlor card could be special for two reasons. One, it was taken by Matthew Brady, who was the most famous American photographer of the time. And two, it was later used to create the image of Lincoln on the penny. So I brought in some examples of authentic Lincoln signatures here. So one thing I look for authenticity is the angle of the O. He usually makes it not as a perfect circle, but as an oval, and he usually slants it about 45 degrees upwards. So if you look here, there's a 45-degree angle. And then if we come over here, you can see it's not a perfect circle. It's sort of an oval, and you can sort of see the lower point and top point make that 45-degree angle. So, Rick, I do believe it is genuinely signed by our 16th president himself.
Okay. So the big question, what's it worth?
In a high-end retail gallery setting, you could probably put a price of $150,000.
It's worth even more than I thought it was.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
If you're a collector of presidential items, having a signed photograph of Abraham Lincoln really is the ultimate. It's a great piece of Americana. It's the top of the collecting pyramid.
Okay, so, I mean, like, what's your best price on it?
I told you $100,000, but you could make money even if you gave me $120,000.
I'll make this really simple for you. I'll give you $100 grand. I won't go a penny more. That's what I'll go. $100 grand.
I think $110,000 is a fair price.
I am comfortable at $100,000, and that's it.
We got a deal.
Sweet. Go right over there. We'll do some paperwork, and I'll get you paid.
Great.
And then you can pay the IRS. We look similar, don't we? Yeah. I could be president.
This is a flag that was cut off of a World War I airplane by my grandfather The plane was bullet-ridden, and it crashed.
So let me get this right. The plane was on fire, and your grandfather ran up with a knife and cut the flag out so the American flag wouldn't burn.
That's right.
That's awesome.
I came to the pawn shop today to sell my grandfather's flag, which he cut from a World War I airplane. I'd like to sell it because it's been sitting around for 95 years, and I'd like it to go to somebody that really would like to do something. And, you know, it's always nice to make a little bit of extra cash as well.
So what can you tell me about it?
This article was from about 1940. He brought the flag to work, intending to have it framed. He was called out to duty, and when he came back, the flag was gone, and he assumed somebody stole it. Well, 10 years later, he helped move the lockers away, and there was the flag for 10 years.
So you have the flag in the article. You got anything else to back up your story?
I have these dog tags, and one of these dog tags actually says Lieutenant Quentin Roosevelt on the back and George Pine, my father's name, on the front.
That is really cool. Quentin Roosevelt was Teddy Roosevelt's youngest son. He was a great pilot, and when he was shot down, the Germans buried him with full military honors. To think that this flag was off one of the planes in his squadron is just an amazing part of history. I will have no problem selling it. So what were you looking to do with it?
I'd like to sell it.
Okay. Did you have a number in mind?
$7,500. I did have it appraised, and it came in at $10,000.
It is a one-of-a-kind item, but you can appraise it for anything. So I can offer you like $5,000.
Make it $6,500. What you have to think about here is, how would you replace this? How could anybody...
Well, you can't exactly
Yeah.
replace it, but there's other very expensive, very patriotic things from World War I. So $6,000 is more than fair.
$6,000. You have a deal.
You want to write her up, Corey?
All right, come with me.
I'm seriously excited to get this flag. It's a one-of-a-kind piece that's sure to generate collector interest. And stuff like this brings a lot of foot traffic into the shop, so I might not even sell it.
How's it going?
What do we have here?
I got a 1872 U.S. patent model for improving the dyeing of stripes on flags.
Okay.
DeWitt C. Farrington. He was the inventor. This is the original patent, 1872. Actually, in the back, you can see he brought it in 1870, and it wasn't approved till 1872.
Sounds like government efficiency.
I have an 1872 U.S. patent model for dyeing stripes on flags. I got the patent model at a small antique show in Illinois. If I sell the item today, I'll probably take my wife on a vacation and buy her some dance shoes.
It is cool, though. I mean, I really do dig it. Patent models are really neat. They were really expensive to make. You had to go find a craftsman. A guy had to make this from scratch. He had to cast out these pieces like this and make this model for the guy. I mean, the great thing about these old patent models is they actually worked. Because I imagine this thing was huge when it was set up for actual dyeing flags.
I love it because it revolutionized the flag-making process. You can see right here, those clamps would actually, compress the wool. And so the textile being clamped would not get dyed. It's actually oriented like this, so the flags would be sitting here. So you'd have these big strips the size of an American flag.
All right, that makes sense. Before this, you basically had to take red strips and white strips, and they basically sewed them together. I mean, this is really neat. So how much you want for it?
I'm asking $3,800.
I'll give you $2,000. It's a patent model. It's really, really cool. Not nearly as cool as some other things I've had for patent models.
I'll do $2,500.
I'll go $2,200. I mean, it's interesting. It's a super, super limited market. It's going to take me time to sell it. $2,200 is a fair price.
All right, yeah, I'll do
All right,
that.
sweet.
Yeah.
Deal. I'll meet you right over there, and we'll do some paperwork.
Okay. I'm psyched that I can make a deal today. I paid less than $1,000 for the item, so $2,200 is awesome.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. What do we got here?
Well, I have a pre-revolutionary document from 1774. It's the extracts from the votes and proceedings of the American Continental Congress.
Okay. This is like the pre-Declaration of Independence. Great Britain was really getting on our nerves. This is basically where they're complaining to Great Britain about just them being dicks.
I'm here to sell a pre-revolutionary document from 1774. I purchase estates and storage units at auction, and I liquidate the contents. This document happened to go in the back burner for about 10 years until I realized what I had in my possession. I'm looking to get $15,000 for this.
This is a pretty amazing thing you have here. At this point, 1774, we were second-class citizens living in these colonies across the ocean. We had no representation. They were just basically, you'll do what you're told. This was a condensed version of what they did when Congress was in session. There was a lot of resolutions and everything else we were sending to England saying, hey, please get off our backs. Just treat us equal. Let us do commerce and let's live our lives just like normal British citizens. And this right here is telling England, like, quit being unreasonable, which they didn't do. So that ended up leading to a war. So have you had anybody look at this?
No,
Do you know if this is a first edition?
I believe it is.
So how much you want for it?
I'm looking for $15,000.
I have no idea if that's a good price. It's very interesting. I know it's rare. It's very collectible. But there's a lot of questions I have about it. Things like this get really, really technical. The right condition, the right paper, the right printing, everything. So let me call somebody up to take a look at this, if you don't mind, okay?
Absolutely.
I'll be right back.
I'm totally fine with an expert coming in. I welcome it. I'm eager to know what the book is worth.
Hey,
Hi,
what's
Rick.
up?
Good to see you. How are you?
Doing great.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
This is the extracts.
Wow. So you know this is one of the most important documents from the American Revolution, right?
Yeah, it's like the early Declaration of Independence. Like,
The pre-declaration?
yeah, it's just like we're just telling Great Britain off.
Well, this is actually the point where we're still trying to come to some sort of compromise. You're the first Continental Congress, which meets in the fall of 1774. And that's when representatives from the colonies get together and they say, all right, we got to do something about all of these acts, essentially things that are like taxes or closing the port in Boston or quartering soldiers in our homes, that type of situation.
The intolerable acts.
Yes, the intolerable acts. A lot of the problems were happening in Massachusetts, in Boston in particular. And for a long time, other colonies were like, you know what, that's Boston's problem, that's not my problem. And so for a long time, there wasn't unity. And the thing that's so important about this is the first time you have the colonies coming together, united, to talk to Great Britain. So the United and United States starts here.
That's incredible.
So these are the most important points of what the Continental Congress was discussing. And it gets printed in Philadelphia, and then immediately they want it spread as much as possible to the colonies.
So what's the condition?
Something like this wasn't meant to last. It was meant to be printed quickly and spread really quickly and then like thrown away. So you look at this and you think, oh, it's kind of roughed up. I look at this and I say, that's beautiful. For this to survive hundreds of years in this condition without ever getting bound, that's really a big deal. And you have the original stitching. This is everything that a collector wants.
Okay, so he's asking $15,000 for it. Clue me in.
I have known of copies selling for around $12,000,
Okay.
but this is not complete. Do you see here, we're on page 48. We've got this sentence here at the end. But to unite with us in one social compact formed, the sentence cuts off. This is missing on the page. So once a book is no longer complete, that price sinks very rapidly. Honestly, I wouldn't expect a collector to pay more than about $4,000 for it.
Okay. You're the best.
Take care.
All right, so all said, what will you take for it?
How about $3,500?
No. I'll give you $2,500. Said I could probably get $4,000 for it.
How about $2,850?
All right, we have a deal.
All right.
I'll meet you right up front there, and we'll do some paperwork.
Sounds great.
There's nothing so cool as owning an original snapshot of history as it was being made, except for how much money I can make when I sell it. Not that I'm not gonna read this thing 10 times before I do sell it.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
All right, what do you got?
Something unusual. Copy of the Declaration of Independence.
Hey, Corey,
What's up, bud?
this guy has the Declaration of Independence.
No, he doesn't.
Sure I do. Just not the one in the case in National Archives.
Okay, yeah.
First true facsimile copy of it.
This is one of the William Stone copies.
This is.
Believe it or not, about once or twice a year, I have somebody come in claiming to have the original.
I found the Declaration in a box of old documents that I had won at auction. I'm asking $25,000, and if we come to a deal today, I'm sure there's things to do, fix up the house, take a vacation, something like that.
This is interesting.
It was printed by Stone in 1833, and his printer's mark is right there, just below George Walton's signature. He was given the actual Declaration by John Quincy Adams.
These were kind of big back in the day. I mean, because basically, you know, if you lived in some rural town in North Carolina, you were probably never going to make it to Washington, D.C. to actually see the originals. So
true.
You could go into the post office and you could actually see a really, really good copy of it.
And this is the foundation of our country right here.
You know, people often forget that every single person that signed this thing was committing treason. Signing this piece of paper in 1776 was punishable by death. I mean, it had to be pretty scary. I mean,
What's amazing is if you look at the signatures, John Hancock wasn't afraid of being hung. A few of these other guys, you can tell from their signature, they were a bit scared.
It's pretty crazy it happened on July 4th.
oh, you never cease to amaze me, buddy. I know the original Declaration is so faded by now, it's almost impossible to read. So it's a really good thing that Stone made copies of it. The bad thing is that he really didn't make that many of them, probably less than 1,500. So it is really rare to see one. Obviously, you brought it in here to sell it. How much are you looking to get for it?
Looking for $25,000.
$25,000.
Yeah, it does look like it's in pretty rough shape. It's got some holes right there and maybe some water damage.
And just the way it's been folded for...
It's been folded for 183 years, which is actually what probably saved it. If it hadn't been, it's very likely it would have just fallen apart.
I'm just curious to know, how do we know this is from the early 1800s? Do you mind if I text a friend of mine to come down and take a look at it?
Absolutely.
He could give me a little bit more insight on what the copy of the original is worth. I'll be right back, man.
Sounds good. Corey's gonna call in an expert, and I'm very happy with that and totally confident that it's an absolute true William Stone original facsimile of the Declaration.
Nice.
I'm curious to know how old it is.
Okay, the original printing of this in the 1820s was done for John Quincy Adams. And then in the 1830s, early 1840s, Stone was asked to do prints for a series of books called the Annals of America.
Okay.
Do you mind if I pick it up just a little
Absolutely.
bit? Yeah, because the thing that you have to watch for on these is the original one was done on vellum, the second print on rice paper. And rice paper just means very lightweight paper.
Yeah.
It's also a rag paper, or what we would say an acid-free paper today. So if the paper is not correct, it's not that print. But you've got the correct engraving here of W.J. Stone, and the paper that it's on is correct. So this is, in fact, the 1830s, 1840s Stone printing.
So basically, it's an authentic replica.
Yes, it's a great find.
Oh, Mark, I appreciate you coming down.
Not a problem. Have fun. The Declaration of Independence is the document that created America. And this is really about as close as you're going to get to the original one.
You got a really cool piece here, man. So, I know you started off at 25. I don't know if you know, but having paper restored, it cost a few $1,000s. Comfortably for me to jump in this thing, I'd like to offer you $4 grand.
Well, no, I respect that. I mean, it's way less than I'd be willing to take. You know, I'd be willing to come down to about 22.
Yeah, that's, I mean, we're so far off there. I've seen copies in better shape sell for a lot less. I'd go to 6, and that'd be the most I could pay you for it.
I'd come down to maybe 18.
gonna have to hold at 6, but if you change your mind, I'm always here.
Sure, I appreciate that.
All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Corey.
Take care.
The highest Corey's offering is $6,000. I know I can get substantially more at another auction or in a private sale, so I'm gonna have to walk.
Today could be a huge day. I got a call from a guy who says he has 2 of the rarest coins ever. If these pieces are real, this could be a very expensive day. You must be Walter.
Yes, I am.
Your phone call got me a little excited. So this is it.
That is the half Disney. The other is the Libertas.
This is pretty damn amazing. The half Disney could be considered the first American coin.
Yes, very rare piece. Very rare.
One of the things I don't get about early American coins, were eagles that skinny back then?
We didn't feed them very much. I'm here to sell these 2 really, really rare coins, the half Disney and the Libertas. I really love collecting the coins, but I need to sell a couple of them off so I can buy some other ones at an auction, and I just hope to make a good deal here.
This is really, really cool.
The half Disney was minted in 1792.
1792, we just elected George Washington president. We finally have a constitution, and since we're a country, we got to start making our own currency here. But the problem was, for the first 50 years of our country, the mint never got its act together. We had difficulties getting the silver and the gold and everything else like that. And I couldn't imagine being a merchant right after the Revolutionary War in this country, because if you had any kind of store, you took British pounds and French francs and Spanish reals, because there's just always a shortage of American coins. But this is the very first one, and the rumor has it that George Washington basically jacked Martha's silverware to have it made.
That is the story. No documentation about it, but that is the story about that.
You know what? I'm going to stick with the story because I like it.
You got it, okay.
Makes George Washington look a little gangster.
Yes.
And this is the Libertas Americana. This is absolutely great. Benjamin Franklin had this commissioned in France, right?
Yes. In 1781, he helped design this to get France to mint that coin on behalf of the American friendship in France.
I know the baby is the United States, right?
Right. And the lion is England.
Of course. This lady right here is France?
That's correct. She's protecting the child, the United States, from England.
That's super cool.
And then in 1783, Thomas Jefferson was in Paris. He's the one that took these medals back to America, and he passed it on to the senators and the congressmen.
It's pretty damn amazing. They're all graded by PCGS and NGC, so we know they're good. How much?
For the Libertas, $200,000. For the half Disney, I'm looking for $600,000. $800,000 for the pair.
Ooh, damn. That is a lot of money. These are 2 of the most desirable coins for collectors there is, and $800,000 might not be a bad price. But there's no way I can even consider spending a small fortune on them before I have an expert I trust come in the shop and check them out. Do you mind if I go make a few phone calls real quick?
Sure.
I will be right back. Oh.
I was pretty excited when you called. These are amazing. I think one of the really great things is both of these coins are really closely tied with the founding fathers. When these 1792 half Disneys are being made, Thomas Jefferson actually bought $75 worth, which is about 1,500 of these, and he spent these on the way back to Monticello. You know, it's our first American coinage. That's what really makes them special. Very first coins.
And this one, the Libertas Americana.
This is one of my favorite coins because it's so beautiful. This is a silver example. So they made these in copper, silver, and they actually made a couple gold, but those were lost in the French Revolution. The silver coins are much rarer than the copper examples, and most of them are not this condition.
All right, so what do you think they would go for?
Well, the 1792 half Disney, with the right buyer, would probably bring $500,000 to $600,000.
All right, and this one?
The Libertas Americana, I would say for the right buyer for this piece, $200,000 would be about right.
Okay, well, thanks, man.
Okay, I hope that helps you. Good luck, thanks.
Yeah.
If Rick can buy these coins, they're very, very popular. There's a lot of people who would love to own them, and he would have no trouble selling them, so I hope he's able to purchase them.
Okay, first off, the half Disney, it's pretty damn amazing. And I'm sure I'll never hold another one in my hands. But if I was to buy it and then I couldn't sell it, it would put a financial burden on me. So I'm gonna pass on this one right here. I'm just gonna let you know that. This one, I have multiple customers, and even if they don't buy it, I think I can eventually do something with it. So, 140,000?
140.
$140,000.
You heard the man. You have to make some money. I understand this. I can see, how about 180?
I will give you $150,000. At that price, I feel comfortable.
You couldn't do 160.
I will go 150. I think it's more than a fair price.
It's a deal.
Sweet. I will meet you right over there, and we will do some paperwork. You take that one.
I'll take this one.
I'll take this one. I'll meet you right over there.
Okay.
One of these days, there's going to be a coin with my face on it. So what do we got here?
I think there's something in here you're really gonna like to see.
Okay.
1963, American-made Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, to me, this is the guitar.
But there's something very, very special about this specific guitar.
All right.
This guitar was actually played by Jimi Hendrix.
That's a big wow factor right there.
Jimi Hendrix, man, he's one of the greatest rock and roll legends of all time. But what I'm bringing to the table today is not only a piece of rock and roll history, but it's very well preserved.
Jimi Hendrix, he was an icon. This guy did things with the guitar that no one did before it. He played a Strat.
Yeah.
Left-hand guitars are far and few between. His first guitars were used. He couldn't find a left one.
Right.
So he started playing with a right-handed guitar with the strings upside down. Even when he had money, he continued playing guitars that were right-hand guitars strung upside down. Do you mind if I pick it up?
No, absolutely, by all means.
All right. This is the Holy Grail.
He actually held this guitar that you now have in your hands and made wonderful music with it.
Is there any pictures of him playing it on stage or anything? Or?
No, because it was exclusively played in the studio. This was his really favorite sort of recording acts.
I'm gonna set this down. And where did you get this?
It was actually owned by a guy named Skip Jarrett. There was a studio called Juggy Sound Studio that Jimmy loved to cut in up in New York. Skip was the chief engineer at Juggy Sound Studio. And after they wrapped up all the production on Band of Gypsies and all that, they gave this guitar to Skip. When he passed away, one of my business associates and I acquired the guitar.
Okay. This guitar was on Band of Gypsies?
Yeah, he played this guitar on several records. He actually played it on Nervous Breakdown as well.
Okay.
Here's just something that came out this year in this magazine about this specific guitar. The guy that wrote this article, did a lot of extreme diligence. Plus I have, letters signed by Jimmy's brother.
I have seen items where people had letters from the family.
Right,
Okay, and it turned out not to be what they said it was.
Right.
Okay, that's the one big thing that scares me. How much do you want for the guitar?
I think this guitar, from everyone I've talked to, I'd be willing to take, say, $750,000 for it.
I have a friend who, if this thing is real, he will know. And if not, he'll call bull.
Bring it, you know what I'm saying?
All right, I'll be right back. Give me a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, man. I have nothing to hide. Let's turn the lights on real bright. This is an authentic Jimi Hendrix guitar. I'm happy to challenge anybody that he wants to bring to the table to look at it, because he'll authenticate the guitar.
This is stupid cool. I mean, one of Jimmy's guitars. Hendrix turned the guitar into an extension of his body. Every way he moved was altering the sound of the guitar. When you see him dip down real low, he's bending physically bending the guitar.
Right.
There's very few guys that can make their own statement with the guitar anymore. But guys come along like Jimi Hendrix and just take it to a completely new place.
I want to make sure this is 100% before we start talking a lot of money.
Yeah, you mind if I take a look at it?
No, man, by all means, that's why you're
Awesome.
here.
There's a couple of things you'd want to look at. The tremolo bar. These are usually bent and angled up. He played the guitar upside down. He flattened a lot of these out, made them straight. So they probably weren't ramming into his arm and stuff like that. Another thing is what they call ring wear. If you're playing the guitar like this, my wedding ring hits the guitar, removes a lot of the paint, finish from there. If you look at this guitar, the top side of the neck has a lot of that wear. That's from the guitar being this way, how Jimi would have played it. Left-handed. The article that you guys have sitting over there, they asked a bunch of vintage dealers to take a look at this guitar with photos and stuff like that. The serial number here, L14985. This guitar has actually been documented. No doubt, this is definitely one of Jimi's guitars.
That's really, really cool. In my head, I think I know what it's worth, but what do you think?
No guitar is worth anything unless everything's working on it, in my book.
Plug it in, let it rip,
Let's
just
do
turn it
this.
up loud.
Cannot believe this.
How about it? Come on.
That's a good guitar, man.
So what do you think it's worth?
Anywhere from $750 to good auction, $1 million.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yes,
thanks again
man.
for letting me
you're
play.
welcome, man.
Thanks a lot. That felt crazy to hold one of Jimi Hendrix's guitars, man. You could see why he liked it, because it was a really good, balanced, nice feeling guitar.
At a personal level, I absolutely love it, but you have to find the right auction. It has to be advertised in the least amount of time would be a year, most likely.
Right.
Let me give you $450,000.
450? Man.
My thing is, I take all the risk, you walk away with cash.
For a guitar that could fetch maybe $1 million on any day, your own guy just told you that?
Okay, but what
come on, 450 grand? Yeah, I'm thinking 750, man.
A lot of commissions and a lot of people got to get paid to sell this thing. Okay,
Right.
it's just it's the way the world works.
Right. Okay.
I'll give you $500,000.
This guitar's worth more than that. It just is.
If you want the money now, I can go $550.
Knowing that it could potentially fetch $1 million at an auction, I can't leave that much money on the table. $750, really, man. That's a bottom dollar I can take for the guitar.
All right, well, have a nice day. Tell me if it goes to auction. I might bid on it.
Okay. Thanks, man. Well.
$6.
I can't do it, man. But I'll call you if I change my mind.
Call me.
Okay.
All right, man.
He's fired one last bullet across the boat there with the $600,000 offer, you know. Honestly, I was starting to kind of get a little bit more tempted by that. But if you want to come to a fair point in selling something of great value, don't be desperate about it. And that I am not.
I got something to show you. My volcanic pistol.
That's really, really cool. It's amazing this came in the shop here. It's hard to find these things.
Yep. I came down to the pawn shop to sell a volcanic pistol. I'm a big collector of firearms. I'd like to sell it because I have 2 boys in college and we sure could use the money. I would like to try to get about $10,000 because I feel it's worth between $10,000 and $12,000.
This is a volcanic arms. What the hell is that? The forerunner of the Winchester rifle. This was the first lever-action gun. It was built by Horace Smith and Daniel Wesson. The 1850s was when they started making these, I believe. An 8-shot pistol was pretty damn impressive. You cocked it like a lever-action rifle. It's throw out the old shell, load the new shell. The person that invented the Winchester rifle saw this. Next thing you know, Winchester buys the patent and builds the most popular rifle of the time. They used to say the Winchester rifle was the gun that won the West.
It all started there.
Volcanic Arms was started by 2 guys, Daniel Wesson and Horace Smith. Later, they formed Smith & Wesson. They made a lot of innovations, and that's why they're still in business today. So where did you get it?
I was at the Tulsa, Oklahoma show. I seen this guy walking in the aisle with that. I said, man, I got to have that. I made him an offer, and I walked home with it.
Okay, that happens at gun shows all the time. Now, the reason it's so collectible is just due to the fact that they didn't make a lot of them.
The nice thing about this firearm here is it's never been touched. It has all the original patina on it. You know, it hasn't been polished down with the brass, so it's like an original find.
I mean, this is in really nice shape. I'm actually really familiar with this gun, so I don't need to consult an expert. As long as the price is anywhere near reasonable, I'm buying.
So you guys interested in purchasing it?
Yes, I'm definitely interested in purchasing it, as long as you don't have insane prices in your head.
I'd like to get maybe 10,000.
How about 5 grand? It's not a quick seller.
How about 8 grand? I think it's a piece that if you have here, I think it's actually going to bring people in.
I'm thinking I'm probably going to get around 8 grand for it. I'll give you $6,500 for it. Prices on just about every collectible has gone down.
How about 7,500?
$6,500 I think is more than fair.
Well, I got 2 kids in college, so I think I'll do that deal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good deal, man. All right, you want to write them up, son?
I'm feeling pretty good about the 6,500. You know, if I would have put the gun in auction, I would have waited another 3 months. So I think we did actually pretty well.
Hey, how can I help you?
I got a couple of old historic books I thought you might want to look at.
Okay.
The 1802 edition of the Federalist Papers.
Volumes 1 and 2?
Yes, it came in 2 volumes. It's the 2nd edition. The guy that's name is in there was the 4th Postmaster General of the United States.
I was hoping that was going to say like George Washington or something in it.
I want to sell my 1802 Federalist Papers. I think someone that's a history buff would be interested in buying the Federalist Papers to add to their collection. I'm asking $8,250, and we'll put the money towards building a new barn at home if we make a deal today.
I'm really excited about them. They're really neat. Where did you get these?
My husband dug them out of the trash and brought them home.
He dug them out of someone's trash?
Yes.
Wow. I'm just sort of like a shock. You don't normally see things like this. These were all letters arguing for the Constitution we have now. And a lot of people were completely against it. They wanted us to stay as 13 independent countries with a much weaker central government. And Hamilton, Madison, and Jay were publishing these anonymous letters for the Constitution, and they were explaining all the different parts of the Constitution to convince people to go along with the Constitution. And there's some pretty interesting writing in here.
Yes, there is.
So you want to sell them?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And how much do you want for them?
Well, I've seen them advertised for $14,000 to $16,000, so I thought $8,250 would be fair.
Okay. So were these prices on the internet or something like that?
Yes, it was an internet bookstore.
All right. These things might be in great condition or terrible condition. I have no idea. Do you mind if I have someone look at them?
No, that'd be fine.
Okay, I have a friend who knows everything there is to know about this stuff, and she's probably going to completely nerd out on these. Okay, so...
Sounds good.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing their opinion on the books, the condition, the value, and the importance towards our history.
What do we have?
These are the Federalist Papers. She says they're the 2nd edition. I don't know if these are really bad condition or just bad condition.
All right, let's see. 1802 edition, the last edition before Hamilton's death. And Hamilton's early death by duel was, in fact, really kind of a shame for American history because he doesn't often get his due. Hamilton's a really important guy. He essentially established the economic foundations for the federal government. He wrote many of the essays here, and this is one of the great works in American history. I mean, it's huge, and it's something that every collector wants. But we gotta stop for a second. I am seriously concerned that this might be mold.
Okay.
And if it's mold, you'd need a very serious cleaning of the paper and the boards. Where did you get this?
From the trash.
Okay, yeah, it's probably mold. But it's worth salvaging.
Okay.
And the repairs you're looking at probably at least $1,000.
Okay, so then how much would they be worth if they were all restored?
If it works out nicely, it could be up to $14,000, I would say.
Okay. Now she just made everything more complicated.
That's what I do.
Thanks.
Rick's trying not to show it in front of the seller, but I think he's really excited by this book. Everyone wants it. It's so important. It's some of our most intellectually stimulating and fascinating people in the history of America.
And frankly, it's a good business decision to get.
Okay, what would be your best price?
I still think they're worth what I'm asking, $8,250.
I mean, this is my situation. I buy them off you, and somewhere north of $1,000 I'm gonna pay to get them restored. Then I have to wait 6 months, and then I get them back, and then I have to sell them.
How about $7,500?
I mean, this is literally, I give you the money, I'm not even gonna see any type of return for over a year, most likely. I mean, 65?
$7,250. That's bringing me down from my beginning.
How about $7,000? I think it's a good price.
You're at $7,000? Okay, I'll take it.
Thanks, cool. Come this way and we'll do some paperwork. Just leave them right there.
Our daughter was always teasing my husband about digging through the trash, but it just made us $7,000 richer.
Hi there.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Got a 1922 proof high-relief matte finish coin.
Okay. Where did you get this?
I won it at a poker game, believe it or not.
This is like one of the holy grails of American coins, and you won it in a poker game.
Yep.
Whoa.
Came down to the pawn shop today to try to sell a 1922 proof coin. I don't know a lot about it, but the guy who lost it to me said it was really valuable. So hoping to get 20,000 out of it.
This is cool. In 1921, we brought the silver dollar back. And the story goes is they were going to try and make some really high relief ones. What this means by high relief right here is the image really comes off the coin. Okay, it's much higher detail. And I don't know the exact story, but there was like some problems and they got melted down. And most people didn't even know they existed for like 15 years. And then all of a sudden, some stories came from the mint that they actually existed. So there's like a dozen of these things in the world.
It's pretty rare.
Oh, well, it's beyond rare. The 1922 high relief peace dollar is one of the rarest coins in American history. It definitely shocks me that people will walk up to my counter and pull out an item worth $50,000 or $100,000 or more. I definitely want this thing, but I have to make absolutely sure this is the real deal. Silver dollars is what every coin collector collects. Everyone collects silver dollars, and maybe they collect half dollars and nickels, but they all buy silver dollars. I mean, that's the mainstay of collectible coins.
Okay.
So, how much do you want for it?
20,000.
What, you want 20 for it? 20,000?
Do you think it's worth it?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Let's go. No, this is worth a lot more than 20 grand.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Do you mind if I call a friend to take a look at this? I have a few mega concerns here, okay? I've never seen one in person, and I just want to make sure everything's legit. I mean, if someone was to fake a coin, this is the one they would do it on. I'm actually friends with a guy who works at NGC. He's one of the best coin graders. And if everything's legit, maybe we'll do some business. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, hang out.
All right. I think there's a good chance it's legit. Obviously, nothing in this world is 100%, but I'm happy with an expert coming in for sure.
Dave!
Rick, how you doing?
I am doing absolutely fabulous. And this is it. Oh.
Wow. It isn't every day a 1922 high-relief peace dollar walks in the door.
This guy got in a poker game.
Oh, my God. It's always nice to get called in on an exciting coin. This coin is particularly interesting, historical, and it's rare as hen's teeth.
Now, what exactly is the story with this coin? I mean, this was the coin the government minted, but no one knew they minted it for like 15 or 20 years?
That's correct. None of these had transacted until 1937. These were more or less unknown, and they carried over the high relief of the 1921 issues, all of which, by the way, were stuck in a one-week period at the end of 1921. Now, the high relief design was sort of a triumph of art and a failure of technology. because although they were beautiful, they couldn't strike them with enough pressure to get a lot of them out. So they ended up early in 1922 having to reduce the relief of the design.
Okay.
So I assume your main concern is it real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
It is in an NGC holder, which is wonderful. The holder is completely intact and genuine. And the coin is perfectly legitimate. It's one of very few known.
Okay, so the big thing is, what's it worth?
One of these sold very recently that brought a touch over 100,000. It's a little bit nicer than this, but not too far apart. I think this coin is worth something north of 50, but less than 100.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Super rare, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
All right, there you go.
All right.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon, man.
Sounds good. I'm quite excited that this is the real thing. Very few specialists have had the chance to actually handle them, but finding one of these, especially walking into a pawn shop, is really extraordinary.
I should have just gave you the 20 grand and not called in Dave.
I'm happier now.
I'll give you $65,000.
What about 90? I think 90 is fair.
You were willing to take 20 grand for it.
You weren't willing to offer me 20 grand for it.
I think 75 is fair.
Meet me in the middle at 80 and you got a deal.
It's a deal.
All right.
Okay. All right, let's go up front. I'll write you up.
I made 80,000 on the coin. Super excited about it. Definitely gonna keep playing poker. Hopefully I get another coin like this sometime.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. I have something I think you might be interested in. It's the very first issue of Playboy, Volume 1, Issue 1.
Okay.
The Marilyn Monroe Playboy.
Awesome.
I came to the pawn shop today to try and sell my first issue of Playboy magazine, the Marilyn Monroe issue. It's not a copy. This is a genuine first edition. I'd like to get $2,000 for the magazine, but don't tell him I will take probably $1,600 if I can get it.
So where did you get this?
Well, my father bought it back in 1953, and then before he passed away, he gave it to me.
This was the very first Playboy, and I truly believe if Marilyn wasn't in the first issue, I don't know if it would have lasted much longer. This is what lit the whole thing on fire.
How do you know so much about Playboys?
Trust me, chum, I know. This is amazing. This is the most collectible issue of Playboy ever. Most Playboys are worth a few bucks. This is worth a few thousand. Do you know how Marilyn Monroe ended up in this magazine?
No, I don't.
In I think it was 47, Marilyn Monroe, then Norma Jean, needed some money, and she wasn't a star yet, hadn't been in any movies. She got paid some money to do some nude photographs. Well, 1952 comes along, and she gets a movie deal. Later in the year, the photographer who took the pictures looked at a movie poster and going, oh my gosh, I think I have pictures of her. And he ended up selling the pictures to Playboy magazine. Okay. The studios thought it was just gonna ruin her, it was gonna ruin the movie. But the great thing was, Marilyn, she just played it off. And she just went, yeah, that was me. You ought to buy the magazine.
That's wild.
The thing you have to remember, this was the 50s. Just a few months earlier, she was getting criticized for the picture she took during the 1952 Miss America pageant for her low neckline. Just imagine what people thought when they saw that picture in that magazine of her on the red velvet.
These are really collectible. I mean, if you collect Playboys, this is the one everybody wants. What were you looking to do, pawn it or sell it?
I'd like to sell it.
And what do you want for it?
$2,000.
Dollars?
Yes, sir.
I'm thinking closer to 1,000.
I think 1,000's a little low. Might go 16.
What do you think we should pay for it, chum?
You can buy a new one right now for $6. Full color.
I mean, I'll cut to the chase. I'll give you 1,400, not a dime more.
Okay. I'll go for it.
Thanks. God, you have great negotiating skills. I generally don't like buying magazines because they're hard to sell, but this is awesome. I could probably double or triple my money on this, but I think I'm going to keep it in the case for a while because it's going to bring people in the door. What do we have here?
A red Pepsi machine.
Okay, a red Pepsi machine.
A red Pepsi machine.
Usually Coke machines are red and Pepsi is blue.
Right.
Can you honestly tell the difference between a Coke and a Pepsi?
I honestly can. I prefer Pepsi.
Whatever.
I came to the pawn shop today to sell my 1950s Pepsi Cola vending machine. If I pay the money to restore it, I'm just afraid my kids are gonna tear it up. I'm hoping to get $4,000 for it today, but the least amount I'll take is $3,000.
So where'd you get it?
I bought it at a storage auction for about 350 bucks, and it's a 1950s Pepsi Cola Vend 81 machine.
All right, this thing is definitely cool. When they say a Vend 81, that means it vends 81 bottles.
Oh.
And the Cola Wars, the war between Coke and Pepsi, has been more or less going on forever. Back then, a Coke was a 6-ounce bottle. Pepsi started selling 12-ounce bottles for the same exact price, which got them really popular. But then they started losing again during World War II because Coca-Cola got the contract to supply the U.S. troops. And they ended up telling the U.S. Army, you know, it would be so much cheaper that if we just shipped the syrup overseas and we opened up bottling plants in all these countries we're in now.
Right.
And that's really helped Coke become a worldwide brand. Well, at least you have the coin mechanism. The big bonus is you don't have anything that's really rusted out or nasty. A lot of times you'll open these things up and they're just hell inside.
And most of the time, the racks are gone.
Yeah, that's true. I really like this thing, but I'm worried about how much it would cost to restore it. I need to do some more research before I can pull the trigger on this one. So what do you want to do with it?
I want to sell it.
How much you want for it?
$4,000.
Dollars?
Dollars.
Do you mind if I call somebody up and see if it would be worth my time to restore it and pay you that kind of money?
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right.
All right, well, check it out. It's a red Pepsi machine.
This is pretty rare. Pepsi and Coke were in such competition that the reason why that's red is because somebody stole it from the other. They grabbed them. They were sold to the customer. They buy that machine for about, I think they're about 140 bucks a piece. And you can buy a brand new machine, you have Pepsi on the front of it, and you sold Pepsi products. Well, Coke would come by the same gas station and say, hey, I'll give you my product, and I'll end up putting them in the machine, and if you go ahead and paint it red and put a Coke decal in the front. And they would do that. They would swap back and forth.
Okay. She wants $4 grand for it.
Okay.
So basically all I want to know is how much it's going to cost to restore it.
All right, well, let me check this thing out and see what you guys got here. That's weird. I mean, it's red. It is red from the beginning. Usually when you look behind them, you'll see some blue or something, and a lot of it is like painted red really well.
So you think it was painted red from the factory?
I do. You can see somebody painted it again and cleaned it up, but back in here, it's all still red. I've seen a Pepsi machine yellow, and I've seen a Pepsi machine blue in the era. I've never seen it red. And it could be one of a kind. As far as the total machine, it's in pretty darn good shape. For me to go and restore it, new rubber, take it all apart, the bodywork's decent. It's got some waves and stuff in it. It's not real bad. Chrome and everything, you're looking at about $4,800.
So what would one of these things be worth completely restored?
I would probably be asking $9 for it.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thanks, man.
Okay, thanks, Rick, very much. If he does end up with it, I want to be the one to restore, because there's a lot of little things that are unknowns. Why is it still red behind the rubber and it should be blue? None of that makes any sense.
Okay, so all that being said, how much do you want for it?
$4,000.
I can't do $4,000. There's no money to be made. I'll give you 2,500 bucks.
$3,500.
I'll tell you what, I'll go $3 grand. I'm not going to go no more than that.
All right, you got yourself a deal.
All right, let's go up front. I'll write you up.
All right.
I'm really glad I picked up this machine. It's pretty weird that it's red, but if I ever do decide to get it restored, I can always go back to classic Pepsi Blue. Either way, I think there's money in this thing.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
How's it going, man?
Good.
What is this?
This is a piece of the flag that was carried by Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders. It went up San Juan Hill.
Okay.
And some photos that go with it.
This is a piece of the flag that they brought up San Juan Hill.
Yes.
The most famous battle of the Spanish-American War.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
Anything that's associated with Teddy Roosevelt is a really rare piece. Teddy Roosevelt was only really with the Rough Riders for about a year, so there isn't much out there. I'm asking $8,000 for this piece, but as everything that I bring in, it's always negotiable.
So this is...
This is actually the guidon from, I believe it's Company F, or Troop F, as it would be called in the cavalry.
The guidon, like, signifies their unit?
Yeah, it's not the U.S. colors, the regimental colors. It would be the company flag.
You got, like, paperwork and stuff that goes with it, or?
Well, I had a handwritten note from the guy who was given the piece of the flag. It was a common practice to souvenir out flags in the military, in the Civil War, and the Spanish-American War. Certain people would get a piece of that flag.
Okay. Yeah, 1898, he's Undersecretary of the Navy. Middle of the night, there was a telegram that the Spanish fleet was getting close to the American fleet. Next thing you know, he goes, just fire on them. Basically starts the Spanish-American War all by himself, and almost immediately forms the Rough Riders, wants to go to Cuba and fight, basically because he wanted to be president one day.
This is cockier than you. A cocky nerd.
This is something you never hear about today. A high-up government bureaucrat resigning his position so he can lead volunteers into war. It just doesn't happen anymore. And this is just one of many stories that made Teddy Roosevelt larger than life. And this one went up San Juan Hill.
He has a list of battles here. San Juan, July 1st through 4. Well, it went everywhere the Rough Riders went.
All right. This is neat. I really like this.
Well, good.
What do you want to do with it?
I want to sell it.
And how much you want?
$8,000.
Holy. I'm going to call it Mark and have a look at this. I just want to make sure everything is right.
Okay. I think Mark knows his items for the most part, but he's looked at my things before, and sometimes he gets it right, and sometimes he doesn't.
Eric, you're in there too.
How you doing?
How are you?
How's it going?
Doing
What's up,
all
buddy?
right. So, what have we got this time?
Part of the flag that went up San Juan Hill.
Rough Rider flag. It's actually the guidon.
Okay. The interesting thing when you're talking about San Juan Hill, you're talking about the Rough Riders and that, and the Rough Riders had their own flag. The guidons, each troop would have one of those. The term Rough Riders actually was taken from Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show and Congress of Rough Riders. So, what's your concerns here?
Is this the flag that went up San Juan Hill?
Well, do you mind if I take a closer look at it?
Sure.
San Juan, July 1st to 4th, 1898. Very nice. That's the one that everybody's heard of. The Rough Riders running up this hill, which is always kind of interesting because this was a cavalry group. The cavalry are on horses. San Juan Hill, they're on foot.
I guess that would make a lot more sense. I mean, if you're trying to go up a hill on horses and they're firing down on you, you would make a much easier target on a horse.
Sort of. But looking at the material itself, it's absolutely correct for the time period. And given this note, I do believe that this was a piece of Troop F's guidon. But it doesn't say that it went up the hill, that it went into battle. You know, because at San Juan Hill, they were on foot. They weren't carrying guidons.
The way this is written, it says, you know, engaged at the following battles.
Yeah.
Piece of
But
the
that's
guidon,
true.
engaged
No.
at.
Doesn't say anything about being used in battle. It just says, these are the battles we were in. So when it comes to whether it went up San Juan Hill, probably not.
Well, I think I got what I want, man.
All righty, well, thank you.
To say that it didn't go up San Juan Hill is just, I think it's wrong. You know, it says right on the note that it was engaged at those battles, and I'm gonna trust the word of someone who was there versus someone who was not there.
It's really cool, but I don't think it's worth nearly as much as what you're asking for it. It didn't go up San Juan Hill.
Even if they fought dismounted, I think that went up.
I don't see it $8,000. I see it a lot less than that.
How lot less?
I'm not even gonna make you an offer. We're just so far off. I'm sorry, man.
All right.
Okay?
So glad you're here. I would have paid a lot of money for that thing.
You'll come back with some more stuff, you know? I'm not gonna pay a lot of money for something unless I know 100% it's the real deal. But I know Eric will come back with something cool. He always does. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
What do we got
I have
here?
something you might be interested in. It's an original souvenir program from the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty, dated 1886.
That is really, really cool.
Yes.
It was just such an amazing project when they built this thing. You know, the base that it sits on, that was actually constructed by American donations.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Pulitzer, who owned the New York Times at the time, he put out this thing that if you donated a penny, he would put your name in the newspaper.
Oh.
So people were donating, you know, a dime or a quarter every week so you could be in the list of people in the newspaper.
I came down to the pawn shop today to sell my original souvenir program from the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty. It's in excellent condition for 127 years old. I'm hoping I get $2,500 for it, and the least I'll take is $1,000.
So where did you get this?
This has been in my family for generations, and I actually found it in my mother's file after she passed away.
Okay. Have you ever looked through it or anything?
Yes.
It's such a cool piece of Americana. They came up with the idea in 1865. Bartoli started it, and then, you know, one of the engineers on this was Gustav Eiffel, you know, from the Eiffel Tower.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
This must have some really cool little things in it. This program is absolutely amazing. It really gives you a sense of what it was like on that day in 1886. The history nerd in me loves this kind of stuff. I just have to make sure that nerd doesn't pay too much. Do you want to sell this?
Yes.
So how much you want for it?
$2,500.
Okay. Do you mind if I have someone look at it?
Not at all.
Okay. The things that concerns me is this could have been reproduced in 1986 and looks like this now.
Oh. I hope not. I hope it's original.
So hang out a few minutes. I'm going to give him a call, get him down here.
Fine.
He's going to tell me about it. Hold on a minute.
Okay. I'm excited for someone to look at it. I know it's original, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they say about it.
Oh. Pretty damn neat, huh?
Oh, that is cool. Very nice. The dedication of the Statue of Liberty. October 28th, yeah, that's right, 1886. This was a big deal. This was the first time in the history of New York that there was a ticker tape parade.
I knew that.
You know, they had almost 1 million people there. And the only ones who were allowed to go out to the island and actually saw or heard anything of the real dedication were like the president and, you know, all the dignitaries. And they didn't even let women out there. So what's your concern?
I just want to make sure this is the one from 1886 because I'm just afraid that this thing was sold at the gift shop right next to the ferry for the next 50 years.
I understand that's a real valid concern because a lot of this stuff has been reproduced over the years. But do you mind if I pick it up and take a look at it? Thank you. Looking at it, this wouldn't have been considered expensive at the time. As you can tell, it was 10 cents.
Great.
These would have been sold to the crowd. There were probably 100,000 of these printed.
Okay.
I doubt whether there's more than 400 or 500 left out there. I mean, there's probably not many of them.
Cool.
Part of the thing that you notice in 19th century printing is they use a different typeface almost every line. This is a very typical layout, but you don't see these metallic inks being used today.
Okay.
You know, from what I see here, and in comparison to thousands of 19th century pamphlets and publications that I've looked at, this is real. This is original. It's 1886.
All right, that was from the party.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Thank
Very
you.
good to meet you.
You
Thank
too.
you. I've seen a lot of opening days, celebratory dedication programs for a lot of different things, but it isn't one that I've run into before.
It is really neat.
It's very rare.
Now, I mean, I don't mean to beat you up, but I would give you like $200 for this thing.
I'm one at least $2,500. It's extremely rare.
I know it's...
I've never seen another one.
It's rare, but you have to realize it's not like a first edition Mark Twain or things like that. It's
But it's a piece of history.
But it's definitely a piece of history.
I think it's worth at least $1,000. It's extremely rare. You'll never see another one.
I mean, I would go $250.
No, I won't sell it for that.
Okay. Well, thanks for bringing it in.
Oh,
That's
my
all I can tell
pleasure.
you. I mean, if you change your mind one day, bring it back. Otherwise, give it to your kids.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
I was disappointed when he gave me a $200 price. I thought it was worth a lot more. $200, I might as well just keep it in the family.
How can I help you?
Hey, guys. I have a real piece of American history I'd like to sell you.
Okay.
Hopefully it's a toupee.
No, it's not a toupee.
All right.
I have a first-hand journal of the travels and history of Lewis and Clark.
Rick, this thing looks like it's been across America.
Okay.
I have a book to sell today that is the journal of Lewis and Clark's expedition across the United States in 1804. I've seen other copies of this sell for $16,000, so yeah, I'm trying to get them up as high as I can on it.
This is pretty cool, man. Can I take a look?
Sure.
You know about Lewis and Clark, Rick?
Yes, I know about Lewis and Clark. They were literally the Lindbergh of their day. In 1804, Congress wanted a route to the West Coast over land. They wanted to explore the center of this country that really hadn't been explored before. President Jefferson was way behind this. He really wanted this to happen because he knew that eventually the United States would be going farther and farther west, and he really wanted to know what we had there. But going on land across this country in 1804, it's almost the equivalent of going into space. So Lewis and Clark set out to discover the unknown. And they did this overland trek all the way across the United States over like treacherous territory and had adventures and everything else like that. When they got back to the East Coast, they were hailed as heroes. Before them, we had no idea some of the resources we had going west. And it really helped out plan the future of the United States. So where did you get this?
I was on an estate sale about 5 years ago, and I bought a box of books. I noticed this in here, Lewis and Clark's journal.
Actually, it was a journal kept by a guy named Gass. The troops nominated him to become the sergeant. One of the duties of the sergeant was to keep a journal.
The book, if you read through it, it shows pretty much a day-to-day journey of what they did.
How much do you want for this?
$16,000.
Okay. I have no idea if that's a good price or not, but I have a friend who will know about everything there is to know about the book. And if you don't mind hanging out for a little bit, we'll bring her down here.
I'd love for you to.
Can you call Rebecca for me?
She'd much rather hear from me, trust me.
So it's Patrick Gass's book on Lewis and Clark.
I know this book. The expedition was 1804 to 1806, and this was the first published account in 1807. People were dying for information about this trip because you think about it, like the United States had just bought this huge amount of land. They were trying to find waterways the whole way through because at that point, water routes were the roads. That's how you did any sort of shipping. And that's what Jefferson wanted. Gass was supposed to keep a journal. That was part of his duties as a sergeant. And so that's what you're getting here. Is you're getting really a play-by-play every single day. And Jefferson's really interested to see what was happening out west. It is, on the one hand, not terribly well preserved, but on the other hand, to have it with all of the original elements intact is great and does really affect what you can ask for it. So it's actually quite handleable, considering all things considered. The hinges seem pretty well intact. All right, but looking inside, this looks like an institutional library stamp. There are a couple of the institutional library stamps. But you can see this book doesn't look great, and that's typical. The binding here, yes, that's sheep, which was the cheapest of the leathers available.
So what's it worth?
So when I think about dealers who are specialists in Americana, I see them these days listing them for prices around $15,000, $16,000, $17,000. But this is ex-library, which is a real painful hit to the asking price because private collectors mostly really dislike that. So for this particular book, with all faults, I would put it around $7,500.
Why would it go down in value so much, being an ex-library copy?
You can see libraries tend to put stamps and things. They tend to leave markings, and the markings often are very obvious. To have one is annoying enough, but this has 3, so this particular library was a little stamp happy, unfortunately. And collectors are all about pristine condition. They want it to look exactly the way it did when it first published.
Because it's unremovable.
Yeah. Ex-library is a little bit like a, to use a literary reference, a scarlet letter, you know?
Thanks for coming in, though.
You're the best.
Glad I could help.
Well, where are we at?
I'll give you $4 grand for it.
That's not going to do it. You can do a little better than that. 7,000.
I'm not gonna make any money. But $4 grand, I think, is a fair price.
That's too low. The book is the original book. It has library stamps, granted. How about 5,000?
I go 4,100. It's a fair price.
45?
I'll go 42. I shouldn't go that high.
Done.
All right, 4,200. It's a deal.
Done deal.
You want to write him up, chum?
Come on.
I made an expedition out here to Las Vegas just to sell this book, and it paid off.
I have these cigar box labels, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, these are old cigar labels.
Saw a couple presidents on there, a couple old guys.
This is something you would definitely not see nowadays, politicians putting their names on tobacco products. Back then, they had to find something to get their name out there.
They didn't have no tweeter.
You mean Twitter?
Okay.
I decided to come in the pawn shop today to sell my collection of cigar box labels. I have no idea what they're worth or anything, but I just want to make some money off them, to be honest with you. That's really the only reason I bought them.
These are pretty neat. Do you know much about them?
Absolutely nothing. My mom had me garage selling with her. The whole book was $3, so I figured what the hell, I'd pick it up.
You know, smoking's bad for you, but back then, it's what people did. You would go into a store and they were kept behind the counter, but they always had like a box sitting on the counter. And generally that box was the one with the coolest artwork on it.
Okay.
And there was a lot of competition. They were constantly changing the name of their cigars just so they could put new artwork on there and make it a little different. Back in the early 1900s, cigar smoking was incredibly popular, and cigar manufacturers did whatever they could to get new customers. Labels like these were a great way to get your brand to stick out. They're all in remarkably good shape. Most of these are like 1910-ish, except for this one right here. You gotta realize it was only made for a few months in the summer and fall of 1900. McKinley and Roosevelt were running for president and vice president. This was made with stone lithography, and they started adding gold leafing. The process to do it was expensive.
Yeah.
The artwork on these things is something that's really, really collectible.
It's awesome.
So how much are we looking to get out of them?
How about 300?
So you can just make 100 times what you paid for them?
Hey, I gotta start somewhere.
They don't go for a lot of money, and they sit around for a long time. I'll give you $50.
I need a little bit more, man. I'll knock off $100, $200.
I'll tell you what, I don't have time to dance around all day. I'll give you $100. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
I'll do it.
Okay, all right, I'll meet you right up front up here.
Okay, cool. I paid $3, so I think I'm a winner. I'm gonna go out tonight.
What the hell is this? Put them right there, dude, in the middle. You ever think of calling ahead, man? What the hell are these things?
They're a couple of bomb fins, probably from World War II or something. I've never seen anything like them myself. Don't you think they're the bomb?
Wow.
Came down to the pawn shop today, tried to sell my bomb fins. I'm not sure exactly what they're worth. I kind of will take anything at this point as long as they're out of my backyard.
I mean, they look like the tail end of a bomb or something, but you're definitely missing the bomb part of them. These are just like the fins that would help guide it to where it needed to be.
Yeah.
So where'd you get these, man?
Well, they were kind of sitting in my dad's backyard and ended up getting them at my house somehow. And Now I just want to get rid of them. Well, wife wants to get rid of them.
How much does it weigh?
This one probably weighs a couple hundred pounds. That one's probably about 50, 60 pounds. They're, I guess, from World War II.
All right. The Allies dropped millions of tons of bombs in World War II. So I guess it would make sense that there would be some bomb fins laying around in some guy's garage. Did you paint that one?
No, no, no. That came as is.
And I could see someone turning this into a table or something. I don't know what the hell you would do with that one.
You can play a little basketball with them and stuff, and...
Yeah, I can also buy a basketball hoop.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I've never had these come in before, and I have no idea what they're worth. For all I know, they could be a septic tank off something, dude.
No, no, definitely not.
I got a buddy that might know. I think my dad would probably like to check them out, too. Let me give him a call and see what I can do for him.
All right, that sounds good. I don't know much about what these fins are. I'd really like to hear from an expert because maybe they're worth more than what I'm expecting.
Wow. What are you guys, getting in the bomb-making business?
No.
The guys usually call me down here for anything aviation or military related, and I try to come down here and answer any questions they might have.
So you know what these are?
I do. These are actually conical fins off low-drag general-purpose bombs. So before, in World War II, and even World War I a little bit, we would just drop the bombs out. And so accuracy wasn't there. These conical fins got put in use from Vietnam on. You strap this onto the tail section of a bomb, and it provides a predictable glide path for the bomb. Basically improves accuracy.
All right.
It's pretty low tech. You know, today we're dropping laser-guided, GPS-guided bombs, but we're still dropping these. In 2003 in Iraq, this is what we were using.
Why are we still dropping, you know, these big dumb bombs instead of the smart ones that are going down people's chimneys?
You know, obviously the accuracy is in there, but it's just so much cheaper. The laser-guided bombs, you know, you can't actually drop through clouds. You know, sometimes it's easier. This one looks like it's strapped to about a Mark 84, which is a 2,000-pound bomb, and 11 feet long. We'll fly in, we'll identify a target, and basically roll in and kind of come in on a dive to improve accuracy. And then we'll release the bomb and then come off. Obviously, we want to get bomb-aircraft separation. As far as damage, you're looking about probably a 50-foot crater, about 11 feet of concrete that can go through.
Wow. That's a big bomb.
Yeah, that would pretty much level the golden and silver pawn shop.
All right, that's good to know. You did make sure there's nothing in that thing, right?
Yeah, man, obviously.
Okay. It's not illegal to own these things or anything, is it?
No, you know, most of them are actually serialized and we kind of account for it, but they are out there. It's not surprising, but it's not very common.
Okay, so what are they worth?
Believe it or not, this is probably higher value, the smaller one, just because it's got more uses. I've seen people make tables out of these. The condition's average at best. They are a little beat up. This one's been painted over. You know, it's gonna bring down the value a little bit because it's not original. You know, commercial value, probably all in, $500–600 in that range.
Okay. All right, man. Thanks for coming in.
Great, good to see you.
Well, I was a little disappointed. I figured they'd be worth a little bit more, but, you know, it is what it is. So let's talk money. Well, I was hoping somewhere in the 1,200 range.
Obviously, man, you know I can't pay 1,200 bucks for it. I mean, I'd give you like 400 bucks for it, man.
400 for one or both?
For both.
I do want to get rid of them, but I still think that, I mean, 400 bucks is a little low. I mean, you can't go up to like maybe seven?
No.
No?
The more that I look at them, the more I don't want them. They just take up so much damn room. 400 bucks or nothing.
You can go...
400 bucks or nothing.
They're cool. I mean, there's something that's not gonna, I don't think they'll sit in the shop for a long time.
Would your wife let you put this in the living room?
She did.
Would she?
She did for a little while, and that's why I'm here.
And that's what happens, yeah.
400 then.
All right, have a good one. Right about it.
Let's go do some paperwork, man.
Well, I feel okay about the deal. My wife will probably be happy, and it'll be a nice dinner, take her out, and just have a good time with the money.